Hey, I'm Kevin, the Paracordist. I want to take this opportunity to show you one of my favorite items, the Paracord Firesteel and Tinder neck kit. This kit consists of a super scraper, a Paracord handled Firesteel, a Jute Fog, a Magnesium stick, and it's softer than those lousy Walmart versions that you see, so it's easier to scrape if you've used them before. And on this particular one, a Fatwood stick that I harvest myself from the woods here in New Hampshire. Starting off with the Firesteel, for those of you that aren't familiar with one, essentially rubbing or scraping the scraper across the surface of the steel creates sparks. Now, an easy scrape, a little puff of sparks. A harder scrape, a lot of sparks dancing all over the place. Now, often the Firesteel itself, with some good dry tinder that you could find, either dry grass, sometimes leaves and pine needles. The fluffier the natural tinder, the better. Sometimes the Firesteel is all it takes to light that up. Stuff's a little bit damp. It took 3 or 4 strikes and I didn't get it. So rather than waste your time and effort and Firesteel, I usually go to my first alternative, good for 99% of the circumstances. That's the Jute Fog. Basically designed so that you can cut a piece off about ½ an inch or so is all you need, and it won't unravel. This fob right here contains 5 feet of jute, so simply cutting off a piece from the end, you can see here the way I designed the knot, it doesn't unravel any further. Take the piece that you cut off and just kind of unwind it a bit. Fluff up the pieces, the cords. Make yourself a little nest. Takes a couple of seconds. The beauty of this stuff, as long as it's dry, it'll take a flame, take a spark from the Firesteel and give you flame very, very easily. Now I could fluff that up more, but I really don't need to. Take the Firesteel, place the scraper on top, and pull back. You can see we've got flame. Now, if I was building a fire, I would take something like birch bark, maybe, some other kind of form of tinder, transfer that flame. Build up my fire. Okay, so that's the Jute Fog. That's easy. Now I've got some water over there, so let me go ahead and grab it, show you what you're up against when this thing gets wet. Okay, so with the aid of my kid's toy bucket here of water, what I'm going to do now is dunk the entire kit in water. You can see that's still burning down there. Anyway, the whole thing dripping with water. You see that? Now, that essentially renders the Jute Fog useless. Okay? So now that's out of the picture. Imagine I fell over in a canoe or fell into some icy water or something. Now, this is what I'm left with. Fortunately, the Firesteel itself doesn't matter if it gets wet. Just wipe it off and it's back in action. So I mean, that right there is worth the price of admission. But now let's say that I've just dunked. I've got to make a fire. Not an emergency though, but it's been damp, and again, the natural tinder that's available to me isn't fluffy, and I don't want to sit here and scrape away at my Firesteel all day. So that's where the Magnesium comes in as an option. You basically want to scrape a little pile of this stuff off, and you kind of need something to catch it with. Set up something like a birch bark or something. You can use your scraper, and you can scrape right down along the edge of the magnesium. Now this particular magnesium, as I mentioned, is much softer than the Doan bars and stuff that you can find in Walmart and other places, so it's much easier to scrape. Now I'm in a position here where, a precarious position here trying to film this, where I can't really put any backbone into this scraping. I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. But you do want to protect this shaving from the wind, because this stuff does come off very light and fluffy. And the last thing you want to do is sit here and spend any kind of time making a pile of it and have that blown away on you. I've got my little pile of magnesium scrapings. I've got a little piece of birch bark on it. Now I want to hit it with the Firesteel. You see, that was a very, very quick flare, but just enough to catch the birch bark. And that's really all I need, because once I've got my birch bark caught, I can build my fire from there. Okay? So that was the magnesium stick. And again, fully functional after the dunking in the water. Now for the Fatwood stick. It can be scraped just like the magnesium. Scrape it off into little kind of fuzzy scrapings, collect it all, hit it with a Firesteel. It's not going to be as easy to put up as the jute or as the magnesium, but it will take a spark and it will burn longer than both of them. If you really need to, you can actually set the whole stick afire, and it'll burn for a solid 10 minutes. That'll give you plenty of time in really poor conditions to get some small kindling twigs and things and add it onto this to build a fire quickly. If you've got the time and the opportunity to use your fire making skills, then you can save this for when you really need it. But I'm just going to scrape a little pile of it off into this piece of birch bark here. Try to keep it as fluffy as you can. I've got a decent little pile there. Then we'll see if we can get it up with the Firesteel. Afraid I'm going to knock this whole thing over, but let's see. There, couple of strikes. Watch it go. I mean, this stuff goes pretty good. That was just a few scrapings from it. Took it off the side. Now, like I said, this stuff is so flammable. If you really need a fire, you can light the end of this. Now, it was wet. It takes a second to get started here. But once it started, you can actually see it melting, dripping, like a candle. So if I was to hold this upright, this piece will actually sort of burn like a candle. I could use it for light. I could use it to transfer this flame and, put my say a Tinder bundle or fire lay up in smoke using this thing. Well, there goes my birch. Anyway, blow it out. Good as new. So again, almost use it as a candle for a couple of minutes there if you need it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. This is the Firesteel and Tinder neck kit. And that's me, Kevin, the Paracordist. Take care.